from Dunce Labs here with some college advice that's clever. Thanks for joining us for this week's Q&A. Today's question is, what's the difference between ED, EA, and regular decision in college admissions? Super common question. This causes a ton of confusion for lots of parents and students in admissions season. So here's how I'm going to break it down for you. ED stands for early decision. If it helps you to think of it this way, think of the decision part of early decision as being really final and serious and maybe a little scary. ED is that marriage commitment that you make with a school. When you apply to a school ED, and that's an earlier deadline for them. Usually it falls in the first week or two of November, but sometimes they sprinkle into December as well of your senior year. And basically, when you apply early decision, you're telling the school, if I get in, I promise I will go because I want to go to your school that badly. I love you that much. So I'm willing to apply early decision. Now here's the thing, if you get in on an early decision application, you have to go. It's actual binding commitment with that school. So it's a pretty big deal. So I tell my students to only apply to schools with the early decision deadline if they know for a fact that that's the school that they would want to go to and that's their clear first choice. Now, EA is not as serious, not as scary. When you apply to a school, early action is what EA stands for. You're applying by the early deadline, which again is usually the first couple weeks of November, but it can also sprinkle into December, sometimes January for some schools. And when you apply early, you just get to know earlier than your friends if you're going to that school or not. When you apply to a school early action or early decision, and the deadline is sometime early November, you usually know where you're going by Christmas, which is a really great thing and relieves a lot of stress. The early action deadline, though, however, is not binding. You apply early, you can apply to as many schools as you want early action, whereas early decision you can only apply to the one. And so early action allows you to apply early to the school, find out where you're going early, but it doesn't really make a huge difference in how competitive you are as an applicant. At some schools, they accept some more students from the early action pool than from the regular pool, but with early decision, it can often make a really big difference. Applying early decision can often make you a much more competitive candidate, and it can increase your chances by quite a bit. At Brown, it actually doubles your chances. If you apply regular, your chances are about 9%, they admit about 9%, and if you apply early decision, admissions rate is about 18%. So you can see the difference there, that it does make you a bit more competitive, but remember that ED, early decision, means you have to go to the school if you're admitted. Early action, you apply early, you find out early, but there's no binding commitment. Finally, the regular decision deadline is just the regular deadline set by a university that you have to meet in order to obviously be eligible for review. Usually, regular decision deadlines are the first couple of weeks of January. Sometimes schools will make them much earlier than that. Sometimes schools allow you to apply up until August, right before school starts. So take a look at those deadlines early on. Summer before your senior year is a great time to map out on a calendar when all the deadlines are for your schools, especially those top choice schools where maybe you are considering applying early. Make sure you're getting those applications together early. As a rule of thumb, I would say set the deadline of November 1 to finish all your applications. That way, if you decide to apply early, you're fine, the applications are done, all you have to do is hit submit. So there's a clarification for you of ED, EA, and regular decision when it comes to college application deadlines. Hopefully that clears it up. Thanks for joining us on this week's Q&A. We'll see you next week.